Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We got it. We got it. I think I can move this a little bit more. This way, I don't need y'all to see my desk and everything. No, y'all don't need to see my desk. Yeah, live. Live. That's how I like it. Live. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're going to talk. So let me get this mic up over here. You know, I don't want the mic to be all in my face where you really can't see a brother. You really can't see a brother when a brother get down. All right. I got to move this because this thing always makes noise. My son gave me these. Yeah. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about something that's really, really, really cool. Nah, I'm back. Yeah, I always say I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. I wonder if that's my thing, right? I wonder if that's my thing. I always say that. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. We know you back, dude. Gosh, Lee, get to it. We get to it. Nah, some real stuff, though. Some real stuff. So here's what I wanted to talk about. There was this kid who, you know, he didn't have both his parents in his life. He had one of his parents in his life. He knew his dad in the sense that he met him here and there, spent time with him, never actually called him dad. And he never called him dad because to him, that person that earns that, not even earns that, I mean, because by birth you have that, right? But I think in life, that position, as a father, you take that position, you own that position, you live that position. And so this kid, he knows his father. He doesn't actually like know him in depth. So here's the deal. He he'll go, and from time to time they'll go different places, not really far. But his dad is struggling with something. He has something that he's struggling with. And so that's a part of the father's life. And the kid doesn't fully know. He knows that the dad has this dilemma or has this issue because he sees him. And it's an illness. So he sees it. But the kid doesn't necessarily know what it is, how it affects him, this, that, the other. What the kid does know is that from time to time, this person who is his father will come around and pick him up. Now, the kid lived with his mother, of course. He lived with his mother. Now, he didn't always live with his mother. The majority of his youth, up to a certain point, up to about, I would say up to about 8 years old, there was a stint where he lived with the mother between that, that period. Of course, we don't know the history of birth and how the story goes. That early part of the life, we don't know a lot about it, but we do know some. So on with the story. The kid, he doesn't have both parents in the house, both birth parents, biological parents, but he does have a parent in the house who ultimately gets into the house. Now, when this parent comes in the house, he comes in as, it's the man. He comes in as what I imagine in the mother's eyes as the father figure, because that man brings with him 3 children of his own from a divorce, but those children don't live with him. They live with their moms, plural, right? So 2 boys, 1 girl. The girl lives with her mom. The boys live with their mom. Their mom is established. She's remarried. She's got a great household, great relationship, and she's created wonderful opportunities for them. However, the one thing she can't combat is she can't combat the influence that the father has. Those seeds that he's planted in them are deep rooted, and they reveal themselves later in life. Now, this kid, who didn't necessarily grow up in his earlier part of his life with his mom, he is now having to sort of accept forcibly this person because he's a child. I mean, that's his mother. His mother's in a relationship with this person. So, okay, let's fast forward a little bit. They get to a point where eventually this individual moves into the house. Now that he's inside the house, he goes out of his way to absolutely brutalize this child. He is the only boy. He has two girls. Initially, when the person moves in, the girls are actually living with an aunt. They're not living with the mom. Just like him, he grew up earlier, up until that point where they moved into this place and the guy eventually came. He was living with his grandmother, and excuse me, and off and on with a couple aunts. So this new man, this new guy, let's not call him man, this new guy, he's a man by age, and this guy has gone out of his way to torture this kid. I mean, everything you can think of. Think of a bar fight with a bunch of grown men. He's doing this to this kid who is like a first, second grader. He's doing this to this kid. Punches him in the face, breaks his nose, kicks him in the scrotum, whacks him across the face with a belt buckle. I mean, he's doing all kinds of stuff. This kid spends every summer of his life, so as long as this person is around, up into his teenage years, where at the age of 16 he becomes emancipated and he moves out of the house and away from everybody. But he lives in torture. This person did everything in his power to abuse, to belittle, it was just torture, right? So any inkling of confidence that this kid would grow to have, he went out of his way to shatter it. The kid could not have a voice. The kid was less than a boy, right? Forget less than a man. He was less than a boy. And he was that. He was a little boy. And this little boy was having to contend with this over, I want to say, 230 to 260 pound, 6'4", 6'5", grown man, heavy man. Because this man, he hated himself. This man was not happy with himself. He was not happy with the life that he chose. Neither was he happy that he lost the life that he had. The life that he imagined himself having was far, far away from wherever he saw himself planted in his dreams. Who was to blame? It was this boy, obviously. Because why else would he take out all of his pain on this boy? What did the boy do? He broke this little boy's nose because the little boy had the little Scooby-Doo van toy from a Happy Meal. And so the kid had toys in the bed. And the man told him, put those toys away and take your bleep, bleep, bleep to bed. Now, mind you, this is the boyfriend at this point. He's not the father. He's not the stepfather. He's not anything. But the mother had issues far greater, far beyond anything that this kid would have known or understood. And so the power that this man had over her was insane. And her family could see it, but her children suffered it. No one knew in that household what was happening, and he controlled her. Never once did she come to the rescue. Did she defend? Did she protect her kids? Because she was so far entrapped entrapped in whatever spell he placed on her. We can have all kinds of imaginative discussions about what that spell was. We really don't know. However, later in life, it revealed itself as mental illness. But here's the deal. In the process, though, this kid was suffering. He was being torn down. As life would build him up, as his experiences in school, in the atmosphere of academia, and the friends, that he would make, the relationships, the positions that he would take in school, getting into ASB and becoming the student body president and being an athlete and winning competitions and all of these things. At every single corner, he would destroy every opportunity that this kid had to excel. Now, even worse, when this man would bring his own children around, because the rules were so strict for this kid. See, his kids didn't have that rule. So his kids, they would go about, break the rule. Eat things they weren't supposed to eat, break things they weren't supposed to break, move things, play with things, touch things, all these things. And then they would say that they didn't do it. And guess who would get the blame, the beating, and the torture? Now, hard to imagine every single summer of someone's childhood, them sitting in a room on the top bunk of this bed. This little 2-bedroom apartment, and this one room had 2 bunk beds in it, right? Not much space in between. 2 bunk beds in it, and you're on top of that one bunk bed every single day of the summer. Now, when he had lunch, he would come home, and he would do manipulative things like knock on the window of the kid's room. Knock on the window of the kid's room. And then the kid would look out because somebody's knocking on the window. And he would go, I got you. And then he would come into the apartment and he would beat him because he looked out the window. He would knock on the door. He would tell the kid, don't answer that door for anyone. And then he would go around to the window and knock on the window and say, I left my key, open the door. And then the kid would go open the door for him. And he would beat him for opening up the door. It was all a game. It was a mind game. It was a game of torture. It was cruel. But this is what he did. And he did this to this kid from the time he was 8 years old until the time he was emancipated. On the outside, to everyone else, this kid looked like a normal kid. He would wear baggy clothes to hide the scars. He would clean up his face. When his face was bruised, he would wear a hoodie, and tie the hoodie up nice and tight, put a beanie on under it or over it, do whatever he had to do. Not all the time, because that person was smart. He got smart. After the time when the belt buckle hit the kid in the face and he scarred that kid's face really bad, and they hid that kid in that 2-bedroom apartment because his whole entire side of his face was scarred and battered and bruised. When he did that, they had to hide that kid for 2 weeks. The mother did not protect that kid. The mother never once called law enforcement. There was no CPS involvement. There was no consideration of a foster situation. Let me tell you what this kid did. This kid had a tape recorder. I don't know how the story goes where he got the tape recorder. This kid found the tape recorder. He took a tape where he copied over everything that was on the tape recorder. And basically what he did was, because he had been crying out for help and people thought he was crying wolf, because to everyone, this guy just looked like an amazing guy. But some people knew that something was wrong. Some people knew that something wasn't right about this guy, but who were they to say anything? And then when they did, the mother protected her man. She never protected her family. She never did. She never even protected herself. He took the tape recorder, he put the tape in, and he put it under the bunk bed. And he just let it play. Now, there were 2 settings on there, and he put it so that it would record slow. So the tape would move slow, but it's still gathering the information. So when you play it, it's going to play it at the speed that you put it on, right? I forget what it's like, EP or SP or something. I don't know. I remember that. So he records for hours. I don't remember how long. I think you could have the tape go from 60 minutes to 120 minutes if you did something with that thing. Then he turned the tape over when he got a chance, and he'd tape again. And he collected as many tapes as he could. And he recorded as much as he could. And then he got those tapes. See, he couldn't go out. He couldn't get out of the bed. He wasn't supposed to. Only reason he was supposed to get out of the bed was to go to the restroom, to eat, to go take a shower, but then he got to get back in the bed. But he couldn't get up to eat without permission. He couldn't open the refrigerator without permission. He couldn't touch anything in the refrigerator, in the cabinets, nothing without permission. So at 5 a.m, a little kid in elementary school during the summer, at 5 o'clock in the morning when everybody left for work, if he hadn't gotten permission before they left, he could not eat. He could not eat. He would just be out of luck. So then what happens? He sits there. He'll sit there until either the phone rang or until it got so bad that he just fell asleep. Nights, days, so many days. Just didn't eat all day. Had to wait until someone got home around 6 o'clock and he could eat. Or if someone called. Or he would get to eat the fist, the knuckles, the belt buckle, the shoe, whatever it is that he can get on his hand if the man came home in the middle of the day. This went on for years. All the while, the kid is going to school, hiding the scars, can barely sit down, can barely move. Sure, a lot of people have gone through where they've had spankings, whoopings. A lot of people have had that, and they've gone through it. But did you lay in bed with your toy under your pillow, going to sleep, only to have a 200-something pound man come because you dozed off and the toy fell out of the pillow, hit the wall, hit the ground. He heard it, jumped up, ran in there. I told you to do this. Boom! Punch you right in the face. And break your nose or break your jaw. And it's not until your adulthood that you're able to actually fix that jaw. Very real. He did everything he can to torture this kid. He did everything except kill him. But he went out of his way. Such is the time when he stomped this kid out. I mean, he stomped him down 2 flights of stairs. I want to say, if I recall the way that it goes, it was 13 years old. 13 or 14 years old. He stomped him out. Down 2 flights of stairs. I mean, he stomped him, kicked him. First, he stomped him upstairs on the little platform area right there. He stomped him out, beat him in front of his mom, while his mom held that man's daughter from another woman, holding her, protecting her from the chaos that was happening right before both of them, for something that kid did not do. He stomped him out and stomped him out and stomped him out. Would it not be a surprise to find out that that man was also a child molester? See, this runs deep. Later down the line, eventually, the kid that's being tortured will walk in on one of the man's sons, who was much older, attempting to rape this kid's younger sister, while all his friends are outside playing basketball, including that guy's girlfriend. And this kid, that man's son, trying really hard to get him not to say anything. and that father attempted to rape the same daughter. Very real. When we look at the things that people were forced to overcome, and we talk about value, how we value ourselves, it's important to look back, not dwell, but look back on the past and see the things that you've been able to overcome. The things that you've been able to overcome are the difference when you talk about the path forward. You see, at no point should you relive, at no point should you relive those things. I never want anyone to relive them, but you have to overcome them. And part of overcoming them is acknowledging them because they're real. A person's deliberate effort, a person who has made it a point of their life, almost to the point where they're getting a kick out of torturing you. When you think of these things, you would probably say, man, that kid was probably jacked up. But to everybody who knew him,